Hello everyone, let's try straight into Power Platform pipelines. The formal definition of pipelines is an integrated automated capability within the Power Platform that streamlines the application lifecycle management process by providing a governed automated way to move solutions from development to test and production environments. In plain everyday English, it is the digital delivery chute. Imagine you are working in a large office building. Usually, if you want to send a package from the first floor to the 10th floor, you have to walk to the elevator, press the buttons, wait, and deliver it by hand. A pipeline is like a high-tech vacuum tube system. You just drop your solution in the tube, hit a button, and the system carries it exactly where it needs to go, safely and without you having to lift a finger. Stay with me here, because this is how we stop doing things manually and start doing them professionally. You've probably seen this at the office, where someone spends all Friday afternoon manually downloading and uploading files just to update a system. Pipelines make that old-fashioned wait disappear. Let's break this down together. We are building a fast, automated road for our apps. So now that we've mastered the idea that a pipeline is our automated delivery chute, you might be wondering who actually builds and manages this high-tech tube system in the first place. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is the pipeline host and orchestration. This brings us to the pipeline host. The technical documentation describes the host as a dedicated environment, usually a production or a standalone administrative environment where the pipeline configuration, deployment stages, and run history are stored and managed. To speak naturally, it is the control tower. If the pipeline is the vacuum tube, the host is the person in the control room watching the monitors and making sure every tube is connected to the right room. You don't want your backyard experiment accidentally ending up in the global CEO's dashboard. Imagine a dummy example of a train station. The host is the station master who decides which tracks go to which cities. You've probably noticed at the office how everything runs smoother when there is one central place to check the status of a project. The pipeline host is that central heart for your deployments. Let's break this down together. We are centralizing our power so we can stay organized. So now that we have mastered how the control tower keeps everything on track, you might be wondering what those tracks actually look like and how we define the different stops our app makes on its journey. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is deployment stages and environments. Now we need to talk about deployment stages. The formal definition says a stage is a specific environment within a pipeline, such as quality assurance or production, that represents a milestone in the deployment process, where the solution is moved and installed automatically. In simple everyday English, it's the stepping stones. You don't just jump from the ground to the roof, you use a ladder. Each rung of the ladder is a stage. Think of a dummy example. You've built a new customer feedback agent. First, you move it to the testing room stage. This is where your teammates try to break it. If it passes, you hit the next button in the pipeline and it moves to the final live stage. Stay with me here because stages prevent accidents. You've probably seen this when a movie director says, ready, set, action. They don't just start filming, they follow the stages. Let's break this down together. We are creating a safe path with checkpoints. So now that we've mastered how to use these stepping stones to reach the finish line, you might be wondering how we make sure only the perfect versions of our work are allowed to move from one stone to the next. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is deployment validation and pre-checks. This brings us to deployment validation. The technical documentation defines this as a set of automated checks, including solution checker results and connection mapping, that must be satisfied before a pipeline allows a solution to be deployed to the next stage. In plain language, it is the security gate. Before the vacuum tube sucks your package up, the system scans it. It checks, is this box labeled correctly? Are there any broken pieces inside? Does it have the right keys for the next room? Imagine a dummy example. You are trying to board a plane. The gate agent checks your ticket and your ID. If they don't match, the gate doesn't open. The pipeline does this for your code. It runs a solution checker to make sure your AI logic is healthy. You've probably noticed at the office how much better you feel when someone double checks your work before it goes to the big boss. Validation is that automated second pair of eyes. Let's break this down together. We are building confidence into our automation. So now that we have mastered the gatekeeper who checks our tickets and our luggage, you might be wondering how we keep a logbook of every time we have used the pipeline, just in case we need to see what happened last month. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is run history and auditing. Let's dive into deployment run history. The formal definition describes the central record keeping within the host environment that tracks every deployment attempt, including who initiated it, which version was moved, when it happened, and whether it succeeded or failed. To put it very simply, it is the digital footprint. In my experience, I've seen that the best teams are the ones that can look back and see their own history. If something stops working on Tuesday, you can go to the run history and see, aha, Sachin updated the pricing model at 9 am on Tuesday. It's not about blame, it's about understanding. Imagine a dummy example of a delivery app. You can look at your phone and see exactly when the driver picked up the food and when they arrived at your door. Run history gives you that same tracking number for your intelligent applications. You've probably noticed at the office how helpful it is to have an archive of old files. The pipeline history is your archive of success. Let's break this down together. We are creating a transparent record of our progress. So now that we have mastered how to look back at our footprints, you might be wondering how to start using this amazing tool right inside your own workshop without leaving the screen where you build your apps. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is the in-product deployment experience. Finally, we reach the in-product experience. This technical area focuses on the deploy button that appears directly within the Power Apps or Power Automate Maker portal once pipelines are configured, allowing makers to trigger a complex deployment without ever leaving their creative environment. In our relaxed classroom tone, it simply means the easy button. This is the best part. You don't have to be a system admin or a IT guru to use this. Once the pipeline is set up, you just see a small icon that says deploy to test. You click it and the control tower, the vacuum tube, and the security gate all start working together in the background. Imagine a dummy example. You have just finished a beautiful painting. Instead of having to find a box, tape it, and drive it to the gallery, you just snap your fingers and it appears on the gallery wall. That is what the in-product experience feels like. Let's break this down together. As builders, we are empowered to be self-sufficient. We've looked at the digital delivery chute, the control tower, the stepping stones, the security gate, the digital footprints, and finally the easy button. We've mastered Power Platform pipelines. You now know how to deploy your intelligent apps like a world-class professional. Well, that brings us right into our next chapter.